Alrighty, everybody. In What's Your Story edition, first time, I'm interviewing my amazing friend Al Richards in a hospital room. Well, in a rehab room, so it kind of looks like a hospital room. And I'm just beyond excited to just have you here with the audience, Al, and sharing in this time and space with me because your energy is just a real gift to the world. So first, thank you for being here. And second, can you share with the community a little bit about who Al Richards is and how you show up in service to the world?
Oh my gosh, I've never really been asked that question, so let's see if I can slaughter it. You know,
I have
I
no doubt you're going to do a better job than I would have.
all right. Well, I grew up in a small little farm town just outside of Salt Lake City, which is now not a little farm town. It's actually the third largest city here in the valley. And, worked construction right out of high school, graduated in 81, traveled around. I've lived in Denver. I've lived in Phoenix or in Arizona area, Colorado, lived in Bowling Green, Kentucky for 3 years, 24 years in manufacturing services. And as you know, my story, Kerri, I lost my job of 24 years in 2009 because I battled a weekend cocaine and alcohol addiction. It was only a weekend thing every Friday and Saturday night. However, I did it for 8 years. And, it was a blessing because I found out that Al Richards back then was a liar and a manipulator. All I cared about was whatever Al wanted. I didn't care who I had to go around, who I had to go through to get whatever I wanted. So basically, let's just say I was in control of the steering wheel the majority of my life. And now I look back and go, that's why I hit so many walls. That's why I ended up in so many ditches, because I was too busy trying to control my life instead of let my higher power, who I call God, lead me in the direction I need to go and just go with it. And it's been an amazing journey the past 17 years. Being the selfish me that I still was at the time, as I was learning how to change my life and be a different person. I remember reading or having someone tell me that if you give back to others, God blesses you. So here I am thinking still with my own selfish, in the bad selfish way, oh, well, I'll do that. So I started getting involved where I started going and volunteering for different things. And it's crazy because when I first started doing it, I'm like, okay, where's my blessings,
Where
God?
is it? Yeah.
Where's everything at? And it's crazy because nothing was happening, but it was. I started falling in love with giving back to the community. I started really enjoying meeting individuals. And before I knew it, I was on 4 different committees. And I wasn't getting paid to do it. I was hurting for money. But I still continued to do it. And I remember, she's my ex-wife now, but I remember when I was married, we got into some heated conversations about, why are you doing this and you're not getting paid? And it's like, it's going to come back and pay itself back eventually. I just don't know when. And here it is 17 later.
I wanna pause real quick. So I guess for the listening community, you lost your job. Was that the pivotal moment in which you realized that you needed to do something differently?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly when I realized I wanted to do something differently.
Yeah.
That was, I remember weekends when I was really high and drunk, and I'd go in the bathroom in our house because we would be having parties and playing cards, looking in the mirror and going, God, please help me, because I know that if I continue to keep going this route, it's not going to be good. Well, God has a sense of humor. I didn't expect him to pull my 24-year career out from underneath me, right?
And I will tell you, it is a sense of humor. Source.
Yeah.
It's the things that happen for us happen in the most unexpected and hilarious ways, even though at the time, I'm sure you didn't think it was all that funny.
No, because I remember going, what the heck are you doing? This is not what I was asking for.
Yeah.
However, going back and connecting the dots backwards now, that's exactly what he knew I needed to get me to where I'm at today. And, it's just crazy because I ended up starting my own podcast, right? 4 years ago. I mean, on the 18th, I hit my four-year anniversary mark for my show. And, I've been speaking, and I've started another event called the Healing Utah Success Summit with another co-founder, Mallory, my friend Mallory. And seriously, getting involved with the recovery community and things, whew, I get emotional talking about, Kerri, because I have shaped myself and molded myself into a total different human being, working hard to where now I'm a papa. I have 3 beautiful grandkids, and knowing now that if something happens to me, people can go to them and go, this is the man your papa is, or papa was, right? He was a man with integrity. He cared about people. He spread love everywhere that he went. And it's so crazy because during all this time, and as you know, and I'll share with your listeners, 2 weeks ago, I lost my leg, the bottom part of my right leg, right below my knee. And it was another unforeseen event. And the outpouring of love that I have received and the comments that I have received, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just wanting the listeners to know that when you are working on you, you have no idea how many people you are blessing along the way. And you don't, it doesn't, I can't even comprehend that I was even helping anybody, but fixing me, right? Getting myself to be a better human being, which my version of it is there is no finish line when it comes to that. It's a constant work. Constant.
Yep.
I can set a goal and reach a goal, but to become a better person, I will continuously work on something, because I've tried grabbing the steering wheel back again a couple times, and he lets me know how fast I can hit a wall, and it's within like that. And then I'm like, okay, you got the wheel again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how our small self, our egoic self, we grasp for this illusionary idea of control, and in doing so we force things that weren't meant to be, and it causes us a lot more suffering than if we just go with the flow and allow things to unfold, even when some of those things can feel really hard and we don't understand why, i.e. you losing half your limb. I can't imagine that is an easy road to navigate. And yet the work you've done for 17 years working on yourself and building resiliency tools have set you up to be able to navigate this new unexpected gift, but we don't know why it's a gift yet, and challenge at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, if this would have happened to me, hell, let's not even say 17 years ago. Let's say if this even happened to me 10 years ago, right? I still was not in the right mindset to be able to handle it the way that I'm handling it right now. And don't get me wrong, I have my moments, right?
Of course.
I feel like, and I even teach this when I have a client, it's like, don't be ashamed to allow your feelings to show, whether it's crying, whether it's anger, whether you're frustrated, whether you're depressed. However, let it move through you like a storm. You can't allow it to stay there, because if you allow it to stay there too long, before you know it, you're standing in a cesspool, and then you don't know how to get out. So allow your emotions and take that time and feel it and understand it. And just Monday, I woke up Monday and I just felt so down, and I'm laying in my bed here, and I was awake at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm crying, and I'm just trying to let all this stuff in my head just kind of work itself out. And I did this for, I don't know, 20 minutes to a half hour. And it's just like somebody turned the faucet off, and it's like, okay, let's get your day going. Let's get going, get up, let's get moving, go ahead and brush your teeth, and let's get things rocking and rolling. And it has helped me in this whole journey, because I'm allowing those emotions, I'm allowing myself to feel those emotions, but yet I'm staying strong. I'm also telling myself, you got this. There is a blessing behind this. I know there's a blessing behind this. my version is everything happens for a reason. And you said it. We don't know what that is right now. And it's not for me to know right now. All I know is something amazing is going to come out of this. And all I can do is stay strong and have that faith
Yeah.
and continue to go along this journey. And I will get wherever I'm supposed to go.
I love that so much. And it does speak to, a testament of your resilience and willpower, which is something I work extensively with my clients at cultivating, because I think a lot of people, they avoid suffering and as a result, they have a very weak mid-cingulate cortex part of our brain, which is responsible for willpower and resilience. I'm curious though. So I want to go backwards to come forwards. 17 years ago, you realize you have a problem. You quit drinking and you quit doing cocaine, weekend cocaine. What were some of the challenges that you faced? Because I know, having overcome a lot of my own addictions and a lot of suffering, there's no straight line to healing, right? There was a lot of learning and growing and falling short of who we had hoped to become. So can you share with the listening audience maybe some of the challenges you faced in staying in sobriety and how you managed to stay the path even when it was very difficult?
Yeah, and it was right at the beginning. I didn't know which way to go, Kerri. I had no clue. It's like, how do I start this new journey? How do I become a different individual? Do they have books on it you can go get at the library that says change who you are, in a month or
That would
whatever?
be nice.
Right? There was no seminars, no nothing. And I'm like, how do I go about this? And then at the same time too, my wife at the time was now starting to fall into alcoholism.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm coming out of my darkness while she's starting to put herself in hers.
Yep.
And the only thing that I could really go back on, and the only thing that I knew, was fitness, because I was somebody who always took care of themselves.
Yeah.
I've been in weightlifting classes since I was in high school. I worked construction, so I was always physical fit. I mean, we partied a lot on the weekends, but we worked our asses off during the weekday too, and it was just our release to have fun. But I kept myself in shape. When I lost my job, I was 198 pounds, had a double chin. If I looked down, I couldn't see my toes because my belly
Wow.
was big. I had never weighed that much in my whole life. I used to do competitions, bodybuilding competitions, when I was in my 30s.
What?
Yeah,
I
and
didn't know that.
yeah, I'll have to find my pictures and
I was
text.
gonna say, Al, I gotta creep your name and find pictures.
Yeah, I'll send some over to you. But so the only thing that I knew was to go back into that.
Yeah.
And really, when you're coming out of what your life has been for so long and going a direction, it's like you're coming to that T in the road, right? Do I turn left or do I turn right? Which way's the right way? I don't know. I can't continue to go straight because it leads off into frickin' nowhere.
Yeah.
And basically, it's almost like I was playing rock, paper, scissors by myself and going, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go. And off I went. And I remember hitting into so many walls going, man, I don't know if this is it. I'm really getting frustrated. I'm not seeing anything really changing. And then all of a sudden, one day after, I don't know how many months go by, I'm realizing that when I got on my bike for the very first time, I barely made it around the block.
Wow.
And now here I am doing 6-7 miles, and I'm losing weight and I'm starting to feel good. And then people started coming into my life out of nowhere. They started asking me to go to or get involved with different things. Right. And I started doing that. Again, it was still part of that selfishness at the time. However, that was leading me in a different direction. And all I can say is I dipped my toes in every freaking swimming pool I walked to.
Yeah.
Some of them I knew immediately, this is not one to jump in. Others, I dove in it just to see what would happen, right? I don't know if I'm going to get bit by a shark or who knows, whatever it may be. Others was, really good. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly where I need to be right now in my life. So again, I think everybody's journey is different, and it's what works for them. However, just do it. That's just how I see it. Just do it, because you have no freaking idea if that's the one for you or not unless you give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, something that you said that I want to highlight for the community that's beautiful, and I fully agree and have had a similar experience. We didn't have a clear path forward, right? We paved our own path. I didn't have a coach. I don't believe you had a coach. It was kind of trial by error. The thing about our journeys is we stayed consistent with a thing, and staying consistent with that thing, despite not having evidence that it was doing anything for us, was what started to build that momentum to open up new opportunities to try new things and try new things. And I am curious what your opinion is, but I know for me, a lot of people who are struggling in that deep-seated depression, anxiety, or addiction, they start something, but because they don't see immediate results, they stop it. And that's where you and I, our ability to stay the course despite not having evidence that says that the work we're doing is making an impact, is what helped us change our entire world.
No, 100% correct. With you saying that, the first thing that popped in my head when you said that, Kerri, was that book, 3 Feet from Gold. And it's a true story. It's a true freaking story about a guy who sold everything and got these investors to give him money. And he went to, I think it was Alaska, and he's going after the gold, and he thought he had it, and he started going back, borrowing more money. And finally he's like, it just ain't for me. He sold pretty much everything for nothing to pay off the investors as much as he could. And he ended up selling his claim. And the person who bought his claim came in and hired a person who understands what the ground looks like. He brought someone to survey the land. The guy comes in and says, instead of digging here, dig here. And literally, it was 3 feet away from where this man had spent years digging, and he ran into it. He nailed it. He nailed the frickin' gold. So we give up so soon as humans. We throw in the towel so quickly. With that said, I like to go back as we are infants. When we are babies learning how to crawl, and especially learning how to walk, we bump our heads, we split our lips open, we crack our heads open, we hurt ourselves time and time again. But did we ever frickin' stop? We still got up, even after crying, splitting our lip or our gums open, and we did it again. And even if we hit our chin again, we still got up. But we become adults and we hit our chin for the first time. We're like, I'm done. This is bullshit. I cannot do this. If we did that as babies, everyone would be crawling around on all fours.
I've never even thought about that in that terminology before, and you're spot on.
Yeah. 100%. So we give up so quickly. And something that you said about when we're going and we don't see a difference. This is a big word to say, a really big word. I would almost guarantee that if you stick with it, if you're not seeing a result, but you still stay with it, something or someone is going to pop into your life while you're here that will lead you to your next step. But if you stop so damn quickly, you just shut that curtain out. You just lost that opportunity to go in a different direction, because that's what happened with me. Not saying it happens to everyone, but I'm pretty sure it does. You keep going, and then all of a sudden you meet someone and they're like, hey, have you heard about this? And hey, what's your story? And then it's like, no. And then all of a sudden you're friends with this person and you go into a different direction. And then before you know it, you're in another direction. Before you know it, you're in another direction. And then 5 years later, you go back, or 17 years later, you go back and you start connecting those dots backwards, and you're going, holy shit, I've been being groomed this whole time to be exactly where I'm at right now.
Yep.
And it happens. It happens.
Well, it's so interesting because I'm very, very spiritual. I believe God is love. And the only reason I say that is because I think that some people have this, dogmatic idea of what God could look like. But love for me is the essence of co-creation, creation, whatever. And when we're just going with the flow, when we're just, okay, all I know is that today, right now, I need to get up and do workout. Eventually things just start to fall into place, and we're not meant to figure it out. I think about a quote that says, a healed mind doesn't need to plan, because we're guided by spiritual sight, not logical sight. And so it is just allowing yourself to have a mustard grain ounce of faith, and to hold yourself accountable to do the one thing that you made a commitment to do, even when it feels really, really difficult, for sure. And in you doing that, fast forward 17 years later, you're now sitting in a rehabilitation place, you've lost your limb, and you're able to not only still remain joyful, but you have this faith in knowing that this too storm shall pass, and you will be wiser for having gone through it. And you're positive. You're here sharing with the community about how you experience life, even amidst what some would perceive as deep suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be grateful for it, right? Because, I mean, when the doctor first came up to me and he said, he just basically said, you have an opportunity of losing a limb. And that just, I mean, it floored me, right? And my youngest daughter was next to me, and she immediately came over and started holding my hand, and I'm listening to this doctor, and the only thing, I was listening, but I wasn't hearing what he was saying, because all my mind's going is, okay, great, no more hiking, no more playing golf, no more kicking the soccer ball with my grandkids, no more this, no more that, no more this. And it's like, my gosh, oh my hell, my life's freaking over. And then I went through 5 minutes of this stuff, and I finally shut it off.
Oh, I love that.
I have to thank all the years of what I've gone through. And now I do have coaches. I didn't before, but now plus I'm coaching, right? Yep. And so I'm taking what I learn and what I help others with and go, stop. Wait a minute. I've seen people climb mountains with 2 amputated legs. Yep. I've seen people go in the jungle and do this. I've seen people win gold medals at certain Olympics. I started running all this through my head, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm just on a new chapter. That's all that's going on. I'm creating a new story for Al Richards, is right here and now. Which direction do I want to go? Do I want to turn it into something dark and gloomy, or do I want to turn it into something amazing? And I want to turn it into something amazing, because what I have done already, and again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but what I'm doing already is all 3 of my grandkids that range from 13, 11, and 8 have all told their mom and dad, Papa is one tough son of a gun. They're seeing it at a young age. They're seeing what I'm going through. They've seen me in my pain. But yet, I took my grandkids to a hockey game a week and a half before I ended up losing my leg. And Kerri, I was in so much pain. I was walking with a cane, and my oldest granddaughter, my daughter, and her husband said, keep an eye on Papa. Just keep an eye on Papa. She stood by my side the entire time. And when their mom and dad came to pick them up, my daughter texted me and said, Dad, Lainey said, she goes, my Papa is so tough. I could tell how bad he was hurting, but yet he continued to make all of us smile and make all of us feel like this, what a great time that we're having. And because of that, it's like, this is why we have to, Our heads don't control us. We control our own thoughts.
Yes, I
And
wanted to bring that up.
and it's learning how to do that. When you start hearing that negative BS, go, stop. We have the opportunity and we have the control to stop it. It's just our subconscious trying to protect us. It's doing its job. But however, the more we can recognize it and the more we can stop it and go into a different direction, oh my gosh, life changes in so many different ways. And it's an amazing journey. And you end up blessing others in this journey, like my grandkids, right? My grandkids are seeing something that they've never seen in their papa before. They've seen a papa with two legs and going out and joyful and doing all this thing. Then they see their papa in misery and pain, but yet they're still seeing him with a smile on his face, and they're still seeing how he's working through it. And even in my hospital bed, when they came to visit me at the hospital, they're kids, right? They're curious. They're constantly looking. They're looking like, oh my gosh, his leg's gone. I mean, I have the phantom pain every once in a while. My grandson told my daughter, he's like, Mom, Papa's like a musician. And she's like, a musician? How do you think? She's like, he can feel his toes and his legs aren't even there. His foot's not even there, right? So it's pretty cool. But again, it's training that mind. However, you still have those bad days. Some days you wake up and you go, this effing sucks. But however you do it, whatever you do, whether you go punch a wall or punch a bag or punch your mattress or kick or scream into a pillow or whatever, get it done, get it over with, put that freaking smile back on your face, and you just keep marching forward. And really, my version of it is you'll come out on top no matter which way.
You can't not. And it's interesting. 100% I agree with you. I believe we have the ability to change our beliefs, right? We truly are a collection of habits, behaviors, and beliefs that have been brought, like that we've cultivated since in utero till 7 to 14, etc., etc. And so when we start to recognize this belief is causing me suffering, we have the opportunity to shift and change that belief. And for you who recognize, you were like, wait a minute, I believe that I am experiencing a joy-filled life because I have two legs, I can do hiking, I can go golfing, to then being like, wait a minute, that's not necessarily a true belief. I can still do all of those things in a different way, is hugely profound. And it is all of the culminated years of your work, making different choices over and over and over again, that has allowed you to sit there for 5 minutes, obviously think the worst, and then shift perspectives and make a different choice. I love that so much. I do have a question, given that you're a male in America, where there is still a pretty pervasive narrative around men feeling emotions and, being stoic. What drove you, or how did you come to the understanding that you needed to feel your feelings in order to heal?
That's a really good question, Kerri, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've spoke about this in some of my public speaking events. I believe, well, okay, that's a word again I'm working on getting out of my vocabulary, because the word lie is in believe. So what makes my belief different than your belief? But anyway, to go back to your question, my version of it is, you and I were probably brought up in the same way that, if you don't stop your crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Or, we got the beat on the butt. And especially for guys, right? We can't show our emotions. You got to be tough. We got to be able to hold all this stuff in, not ever, and bottling everything up. I think that's one of the reasons why I fought an anger issue back all the way up to my mid-20s. And I went through 6 months of therapy to learn how to control that. I did a public speaking event, my very, very first one, back in 2020. Right before COVID hit. And I remember up there getting really emotional, and I was doing everything I could to stop it, but I couldn't. It just flowed. I mean, people were coming up, handing me their napkins so I could wipe the tears. And And I remember when I got done, I went off to the side and people were coming up to me and they're going, my gosh, that was a really good talk. Thanks for opening up. And I'm apologizing. I'm freaking apologizing for
Yep.
crying.
Yep.
And one of my friends, her name is Javine.
Go
And
Javine.
yeah, she come up to me and she goes, Al, don't you ever apologize for showing your emotions, ever. She goes, you had so many of us in the audience crying because we felt your emotions. We felt it. And I really got thinking about that after all that. And I'm going, my gosh, I don't need to pull up my big boy pants all the time.
Yep.
Right? It's okay. And I really feel that that's the reason why so many men are committing suicide from age 18 to 55, because we're holding everything in. We're not allowing ourselves, because society has given us that I'm going to use the word belief on this one, that belief that we can't feel sad, we can't feel depressed, we can't show our emotions, because if so, you're weak. You're not weak. If anything, you're stronger than anyone else by being allowed to show those emotions and not worrying about what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
And I mean, people who have seen me do public speaking, I'm probably one of the biggest babies up on stage, because there's certain things that just hit my emotions. And I've shared it many, many times, and I still cry to this day. Nothing's changed it. And my ex-wife told me once, she goes, don't ever stop crying, because I think you're sexy when you cry. And sometimes I use that in my talking. I'm like, hey, if any of you ladies think I'm sexy when I cry, I'll be crying a few times during my talk, right?
But it's true, because women, I can't say for all, but I know it's really important for me to be in partnerships and in relation with men who have the ability to show emotion, right? Because that, for me, creates a much deeper connection. It's true intimacy, whether it's within a relationship, a friendship, your children. The ability to be vulnerable and share whatever it is you're experiencing is really allowing yourself to be seen, and in that space. And that's a real gift we give to the world. So I love that you shared that. And I also want to add, I believe that a lot of our autoimmune diseases, cancers, addictions, mental health is directly related to the fact that we are not feeling our feelings. It's our feelings cultivate an energy. That energy traps in our body. It has to go someplace. And then it manifests in these schizophrenias, multiple personality disorder, or cancers, autoimmune. And so it really is. It's no different than two dogs fighting and then separating and then shaking themselves off. They've got to release that energy. And that is as simple as what emotions are. And I love that you're able to share that, particularly with the male population of, at least I can't speak for other countries, but United States, where I see a lot of stoicism that is causing so much harm to men and boys in particular. Another question I have for you, because you're right up my alley. So you said it, so I'm going to dip my toes. What do you mean by belief is a lie?
Well, I don't say that belief is a lie. It's that the word lie is in belief. So I'm doing what I can to say, if you've heard me say this, and I know you have, my version is.
It is.
Because if you tell me something, Kerri, and I'm like, no, my belief is this, right? What makes my belief better than your belief, right? What makes me right and you wrong, or vice versa? And when someone told me that once, the word lie is in belief. And it's not that what we're saying is a lie. However, again, is it really the truth? Because we're molds off our parents, right?
Fundamentally.
We get taught certain things, and because how our parents are, now we think that's how it's supposed to be, right? Like I grew up watching my dad throw a fit and when things didn't go right. So guess what? Oh, that's what you're supposed to do when things don't go right. So that's exactly what I did. So if someone said, is this how you act? Well, my belief is yes. I believe if you throw a temper tantrum and kick things and hit things and tell people off, that's just how it is, right? So that's why I've been working on getting that word out of my vocabulary, just like the word try. It's definitely, I have taken the word hate out of my vocabulary years and years ago, because that is such a strong, strong word in my version of it again. And even sorry. I don't even like someone saying that they're sorry to me,
Yeah.
because I've been told that so many times. And sorry to me is more of a negative thing. And even the Romans didn't even say sorry. They're like, they apologized. My apologies, because it's more of a
Yeah.
positive word.
Well, there's so much good stuff here for anybody listening. If I will have Al's information when he's on the mend, if you want to follow him, he's already back to doing his podcast. But so there is a great book by Adam Grant called Think Again. I read it years ago, and it blew my mind, because it was that exact philosophy. He said, he challenged everybody in this book to question their beliefs every 2 years. And I love that. And I do it all the time. I question my beliefs every 2 years. And the other thing, and the reason why, is because we create a belief based on an experience that can keep us a slave to separation if we don't question that belief. And I'll give you a good example. My ex, we were in a very abusive relationship together, was Scorpio. So when we broke up, I made up this belief in my head that everybody born from October, whatever to November, Scorpio, bad people. It wasn't until 20 years later when I questioned my belief, and I'm like, oh my God, I have literally discounted an entire slew of people simply because one individual and I had a messy relationship, and now everybody who was born in this month within these dates are bad. Like, seriously. And so you're 100% right. And so it's not only just, not buying into, like, trying to challenge somebody else's beliefs. It's also questioning your own. I believe fundamentally it's our responsibility to question our beliefs often, but I also will even go further. I think beliefs within a whole are very limiting. So that's why I'm constantly challenging people to, but is that true? How can you know that's true? And even for myself, because I have limited myself so much based on my belief systems. And as I continue to shed what I think I know, I open myself up to vastly new experiences and connections I wouldn't have otherwise had I held on to that belief that boxed me into a really small cage.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get rid of that thought, and again, this is my version of it, when you get rid of that thought, it opens you up so much to where you can learn from so many people. My daughter just stepped in, and she's just sitting here over off to the side, and she's the one that's given me my 3 beautiful grandkids. And it's crazy because I learned from my grandkids. Here I am in my 60s. And it's because I've gotten that out of my mind, that mentality, like, oh, I'm
Older
50
than you.
plus
Yep.
you, and you can't teach me nothing because this is my belief, right?
Yep.
It's BS, because I've watched every single one of my grandkids teach me something in the time that they've been here, and it's so amazing, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's like it brings so many blessings into your life to be able to see that. And then also to look back and see the innocence of kids and going, where did we lose that growing up?
Yeah.
Where did we lose it? I mean, I've had coaches before, and they've always said, pick an age and then go back to that little boy. And there are times I bring that little boy back, right? I like to bring when I was 9, when I wasn't crippled anymore. I was out of my brace, and I was able to be back on my own 2 feet and do different things. And I just had so much fun because I spent the last 2 years being in a brace or a wheelchair, constantly going into the hospital. And so I had so much joy at that time. And now I find myself still at times when I'm really struggling with stuff. I mean, there's times I've gone on my hikes where I'll see a little stream going across, and I'll literally run and jump in the
I love
stream just
that.
to splash, right? Just to go. I used to do that when I was a kid. I'd get in trouble a lot by my
Yeah,
parents.
of
However,
course.
it's like I don't have anybody here to tell me, don't you do that. I'm going to do it. And I'll
Yep.
just sit there and splash in the stream just because I'm bringing that little boy back. And I want to bring that joy of life back.
That's so beautiful. It's interesting because Christ consciousness talks about Christ in the Bible, talks about childlike wonder. And I truly fundamentally believe that authenticity is allowing the present moment to unfold spontaneously without filtering it, right? And I think that's when we're in co-creation with spirit, source, love, however you identify something greater, is when we're not trying to conform or control what things need to look like, and we just allow ourselves to be. And in that, I am like you. I am ridiculously childlike. My two daughters think their father and me, their stepdad and me, are outrageous because we probably have more fun at restaurants and things than they do because we're willing to shoot straws. And because that's the thing is as much as we're meant for expansion through challenges, right? To expand through suffering, through going through new experiences, which does cause discomfort. So that can be perceived as suffering. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be childlike. It's supposed to be just unexpected joy. I love that. It's so
Yep.
awesome. Something you said that I want to highlight earlier. Your grandchildren look at you and they see this really amazing person who's resilient, but I also see somebody who's breaking generational cycles. And that's, I look at how you describe your dad and you making a different choice. And sure, maybe raising your children when you were struggling in addiction, you may have been a little bit more temperamental, so to speak. But over the course of the years, your children have witnessed you grow and expand, which gave them permission to grow and expand. And then your grandchildren have the opportunity to have a completely different experience than what you would have had with your grandparents because of your curiosity and you're willing to continue to grow. And that I fundamentally think is our roles as change makers. Like, we're the rule breakers. We're the, I'm not subscribing to the family dogma anymore. I'm going to do it differently. And in doing it differently, we free future generations to really be able to experience life differently, but really for themselves. Because if Al Richards does what feels right for him and empowers other people to do what feels right for them, because to your point, there's 9 million billion people's different perspectives, and allowing them, what are you teaching your grandchildren to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, break that chain. Like people who have battled addiction. A lot of my guests that I've had on my show who have finally broke that link in the chain. Now they are giving their kids that opportunity to follow a different path because they know what their mom or their dad went through, right? And they're seeing how hard they've worked at it to stay away from it. And so many of them, their children are thriving to this day, where they never dabbled, they never got into that stuff. And it's because they chose to break that doggone link. And it changes everything. It changes the whole cycle of how things go. And it's taken me so long to get this figured out, but the timing was exactly the timing for me. And that's just how my life was mapped out.
So I'm curious about your perspective around guilt and shame and addiction, because you have had your own journey. You've interviewed a myriad of people who have overcome addictions. What are your thoughts on guilt and shame?
Again, it goes back to those emotions that we talked about earlier, Kerri. You have to allow yourself to go through those. We're going to feel it no matter what, especially if we hurt people that we love. The shame and the guilt behind it that comes after it is just, man, it's such a huge boulder being put on on our shoulders, and we seem to break up that boulder and put it in little teeny little larger rocks and throw it in our backpack and carry that backpack around the rest of our life.
Yeah.
It's a matter of forgiving ourselves, because
Thank
here's
you.
here's a good way of putting it. I am not the same person I was yesterday. I am a totally different person. I may have not even be the same person I was when I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. You know,
Yep.
it's that just because that's what happened to us doesn't mean that's who we are today. However, if we hang on to it, we're creating more baggage. I mean, for an example, if one of your listeners is battling with guilt and shame, I challenge them to, wherever they live, go out and find a rock that's about this big, just a little bit, maybe a size of a football, okay? And I want you to carry that rock with you everywhere you go. Carry it to work, carry it to the gym, carry it to school, carry it all around the house. If you move from the kitchen to the living room, take it with you. Take that rock everywhere you go. You will figure it out in a very short time what a pain in the ass it is. But that's
Yep.
what you're carrying around with guilt and shame. Drop it. Drop it. Whether
Yeah.
you have to go grab a shovel and dig a hole and frickin' bury that sucker, bury it.
Yeah.
Because that's not who you are. That was a time of your life. And those are the times that we are supposed to learn from. Those are our lessons. Because my buddy and I, we like to always say, look in the mirror. What's the message in the mirror? What is the message in the mirror? Like me losing my leg. If I go in my bathroom here at the recovery center and I go look in the mirror, I'm going, okay, what's my lesson behind this? Is there a lesson? What's the message behind this? Because there's something behind this. And sometimes we may not know for a long period of time, but
Yep.
then one day you're going to go, that light bulb's going to go off and you're going, that's why this happened. So I'm even getting chills just even thinking of that, because I'm excited to see what comes out of this.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love that. Guys, you have to understand, we're only 2 weeks out from Al losing his limb and having to face life in a new way, not a bad way, but just in a new way. And he's excited to see what comes out of this. And that really is the work that you and I and a lot of the people that we're, blessed to have in our community are doing, is being able to recognize we may not know why we're experiencing something, but we sure know that whatever it is a lot of yummy goodness coming out at the other end of it. It's so beautiful. I do want to highlight, I love what you said about guilt and shame. I fundamentally, well, science proves that it's the two lowest vibrating energies that anybody can exist in, and which is close to death. So if you look at, again, pervasive health issues, obesity, chronic depression, and then addiction, these people are all steeped in guilt and shame. And the reality is I think Maya Angelou's quote, when we know better, we do better. And that's fundamentally true. We can have an alcoholic parent and promise that we're never going to be an alcoholic, but that's the only thing we ever saw. So the reality is we have a greater chance of becoming that alcoholic. That's all we ever knew. But once we know better, we do better. And we've got to allow ourselves to let ourselves off the hook. Otherwise, we will dim our light, which is meant to shine. I really believe that. With just a couple minutes left, Al, is there anything you want to impart on the listening audience that you feel has been instrumental in helping you stay the course of continuing to grow and cultivating this really joyful attitude?
Yeah, it's that choice.
Mm.
That's what it all comes down to. It's that, see, I get emotional really quick even talking about it, because it really is. It's that choice. Here I am coming up on 62, and I'm not saying that I've lived a shitty life. I've lived an adventurous life, right? A lot of things have happened to me, good and bad, just like everybody else that's out there, some worse than others. However, now that I've learned certain things, now that I'm understanding more about life and how life is supposed to be lived. My choice is I want to be happy as I can be every single day. Now, does that mean that, you know, life isn't going to happen? No, life is still going to happen. And I like to say this on my show, life is still going to throw shit balls at you. And every
Yep.
once in a while, you're going to get hit square in the face, and it's going to knock you down. However, when you start working on looking at life in a different way and allowing a higher power, it's God for me, whatever it is for anybody else, whatever works for them, allowing to know that this is happening. What's the reason? What's the lesson behind it? Because I guarantee you there's a lesson behind everything. Sometimes I can figure it out quick. Other times I haven't figured it out for 2 years. There's still things that I'm still scratching my head going, did I miss it? Or has it even happened yet? Right? Did I miss
Yep.
the lesson, or have I just not got it yet? And it's my choice to go this way. It's my choice to go this way. Just like being in the emergency center when the doctor said you may lose your leg, 5 minutes of me feeling sorry for myself, thinking my life's completely over, to go, no, shut that off right here and now, because it's not. Because I tell you what, there's people out there that have lost both arms, both legs, and they've got a life and they're doing amazing things,
Yep.
right? So it's that choice. What direction do you want to go? And it's so hard. Seriously, Kerri, it's hard because I come here and I go to therapy and I look around the room, and the gloom that I
Yeah.
see on so many people's faces, and the PT here is amazing. You know, they're trying to laugh with them, they're trying to joke with them, they're trying to enlighten what they're doing, and some of them are really struggling with their PT because of where they're at, right? And it's just, that's their journey. I'm not making any kind of bad comment about it. And I just look around and going, that could be me just as easy. It could be me.
Yeah.
And instead, I'm choosing to take this as a blessing. And I'm choosing that when I'm working with my physical therapist, to joke with them, to laugh with them, and have fun, and and ask for them to push me. I want to be pushed. I want to know how far my limits are, right? Because
Yep.
I can't grow without it. If you just keep saying, okay, you're doing great and I'm just doing the easiest thing. No, I'm not doing great. I'm not pushing myself where I want to go. So to the listeners, again, allow those emotions to go through, allow them to have them. That's why God gave them to us. But choose, do everything you can, choose to go, this is not it. This is not my life. Why am I feeling this way? What's the lesson behind it? Okay, let's move forward. And
Yep.
just do not control your life. Do not let the higher power take over, because, I mean, I've allowed my higher power to take over and I lost a leg. I could be really upset with my higher power. Why are you doing this to me? Why? What did I do wrong? This is just my journey. And
And we
now,
can't know.
no. And I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it and go, okay, he knows. I don't. But by golly, I'm not going to let him down. And I'm not going to let my family down. I'm not going to let my friends down. And I'm not going to let myself down. I'm going to just keep plugging through and see where this new journey takes me.
Oh, so beautifully said. I am so humbled and deeply honored and privileged to call you a friend and to have had this opportunity to talk with you. Al, you are welcome on any one of my shows at any time. You know that. Your soul
Thank you, my
family.
dear.
And you really are remarkable. And for anybody out there who resonates with Al, I will have his information in the show notes. Please feel free to reach out and connect, because Al, like myself, we're really here to just inspire and encourage other people to give themselves permission to get out of that abyss of suffering and start to do the work so that they can really heal. Until next time, guys, I will catch you next Sunday on another edition of What's Your Story? Until then, laugh well and often, because Laughter truly is the best medicine.